Okay, back once again.
How we doing?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's a busy few weeks as usual. I feel like we start every podcast by saying it's been a busy few weeks. So I reckon
But it has been.
It has been. I just reckon our listeners are probably quite bored of us saying the same thing at the start of everyone. But yeah, it's nice being back in our new home.
Yeah, the new club.
The renovated Steppers Club, yeah. Very
the
nice.
Sexy Steppers Club.
Is that the name we've
New
gone
and
for?
improved,
I was not consulted
maybe.
on that name.
I like sexy.
Okay. All right, we'll go for it.
All right, anyway, let's get into it. Because we're standing outside the club.
Yeah.
It's a little bit chilly. But we've got a very special guest inside for this one.
We have, and it's very current with the operations of what we're doing at the moment. With a recent release, in fact.
Which we'll get into in a minute.
Which we'll get into in a minute. Sorry, yeah, I'm jumping the gun on that, aren't I?
But our special guest inside, Smasher. How you doing, mate?
Yes, lads. How are we doing?
I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Very
Good to have you down.
Amazing.
In the
Thanks
Steppers
for
Club.
thanks for having me in the new settings. It's very swanky, I must say.
The biggest vibe in the universe, as we said last week.
I feel like we should clarify as well from our last guest Higo that we had on that we actually we recorded on the same day with Higo and Smasher previously, but since we had the renovations of the club going on, we thought, you know what, we're going to give it another go with the new settings, with the new production.
He's back.
And we've got him back in the studio once again.
Part 2. We're back again.
Right, so you know the drill for this one, but we're rolling up to the door and the bouncer's coming up. He's very intimidating. At the Steppers Club, we've got high security. And you're whipping out your ID because you're doing an ID check.
Right.
Is that something that you usually do
Yeah.
nowadays?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Cool. Well, what's your real name?
Jeffrey Russell.
Jeffrey Russell. So, story of Smasher?
As in, what do you mean?
How'd you get the name? Where'd it come from?
Smasher came from, I used to DJ at under 18 events in like secondary school.
Oh, right. So when you were under 18 as well?
So yeah, I was in secondary school, probably year 8.
Nice.
And there was this like big party that used to go on at a club called Epping Forest Country Club. Some people would know that club. It was quite a big deal sort of back then as far as a venue. And a good friend of mine, he used to go and MC there. So obviously, you know, at this point I was buying records. I had my first basic set of decks and I was just looking for that outlet just to get out there and be heard. And
nice.
I managed to sort of blag a DJ set there in front of about 1,500 kids.
Wicked.
At this event. And it just come to the point where they would be stopping and clapping like for the mixes that I was doing. I'll never forget because I used to do this like double up mix, and EZ was the first person I ever heard do it on radio, and he used to get 2 of the same records and put one bar behind.
Yeah.
And I used to have like Ant Hill Mob, Don't You Know? That was like my favourite sort of tune from that time period. So I had two copies of that on vinyl. I used to do this double up mix, and that was what just sent the crowd crazy. And then from that, it was just like, yeah, you smashed it, man. You smashed it. So I think before that, it was like DJ Blue Eyes, something really cheesy, so like super swag. I was like, yeah, Smasher sounds a bit more like I mean business.
Okay.
So do you still ever whip out that little double up now?
I lost one of the copies of the vinyl because I used to love that tune so much that I actually bought doubles of it. Like back then, if there was, you know, a tune that you was like, no, I've got to have 2 copies of that just in case one goes missing or whatever.
Wow.
But I remember my car got broken into one night after a DJ booking and I lost, I don't know, about 50 records, but that was one of the vinyls. But again, I had doubles, so I still got a copy. But so, they're still floating about. I've still got my vinyl collection
What
intact
else did
as
you
well.
lose on that night that's like worth mentioning? R.I.P.
No, it was just vinyls. It was just vinyls.
Was that the night that DJ Blue Eyes was lost?
Yeah, I
DJ
think
Smasher?
he lost a
Did
lot.
he go smash his head in? Is that
He lost a lot of street cred that night, you know. DJ Blue Eyes, yeah.
So
vinyl's gone.
You still DJ only vinyl now, is it?
Not only vinyl, but I've still got my decks set up in my studio.
Nice.
And a couple of years ago, I started pressing vinyl again as well. So I'm an analog boy. Like I say in the track that we've got, we'll get into that. But yeah, so I mean, that was where it started for me with DJing, was just going around London, going to different record shops. That was pretty much my childhood. Like,
so born and bred in London?
So I was born in Hackney and I was raised in Hoxton. Cool. So I went to primary school in Hoxton. And then when my parents moved away from Hackney, sort of as I was about to transition into secondary school, I moved to a place called Wanstead, which is kind of just like the edge of East London. A lot nicer neighbourhood compared to what I was used to in Hoxton. But yeah, as far as like just getting into music and stuff, it all sort of stemmed heavily. Like secondary school was when I found like house music, garage music. You know, it's like that was it. Pirate radio was a huge thing. But yeah, I just used to go around every weekend just collecting vinyls religiously. And then the move would be after you've bought some new tunes, we'd go back home and make a tape.
Yeah, nice.
You know, so that was what it was, man.
So when did you first make your appearance on pirate radio?
I was 13 when I first went on pirate radio.
Quite early.
Yes, I was young. I'll never forget. Like my friend phoned me and was like, "Do you want to go on this pirate radio station?" I think it was like a Sunday, at like 8 in the morning, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'd phone my friend who was like the MC in our group, if you like. And I was like, "Yeah, we've got a guest slot. We can go onto this radio station." So I was like, "But you're going to have to meet me at the train station at like 8 in the morning because this guy's going to come and collect us."
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I booked my cab the night before, get there, I've got my record bag, you know, I'm all prepped. And then you go to this radio station, it's just like a crack den in Hackney, basically. Like, that's what it was, basically.
Yeah. Wow.
And I never forget, I went on there, done my thing, the phones was popping off. And the guy who owned the station was like, "I want to be your manager."
Really?
And I was like, obviously I'm 13, I ain't got a clue about it. I was like,
Okay,
"Mate, you're going to have to speak to my mum." Like literally no word of a lie. I was like, "You're going to have to speak to my mum." And my mum come and collected me from the radio station, and that was where pirate radio started for me.
did he become your manager?
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no. Nah. Thankfully. I stayed on that pirate station for probably a couple years.
What was the station called?
It was called Touch FM. 107.1 was the frequency, and it was more like a North London station. So again, being where I lived, just that in itself, the commute there was like a big journey.
That's very close to our radio station's dial, which is Represent. Which
Right.
It's 107.3.
Oh, wow.
That's very close, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, but I remember one time, like I went to go and do a show, and the radio station was in like a council estate in Tottenham, right close to the police station. And I arrived there, and there was a crime scene. So there was police everywhere. They'd taped off the whole of the estate. And I still went in and done the show. And it's like, when you look back on some of these things, I think, what was going through my head? Like, you know, I've got a daughter now, so it's like I would never imagine her or letting her go somewhere and do something like that. But I just wanted to go and play tunes. That's all I wanted to do, just go and spin my tunes.
It's probably so important as well for like your career, right? Do you
Well,
regret doing it?
to be honest, like it was never in my head of it being a career.
Yeah.
It was always
I guess
just
you're
like
only
a
13
passion.
as well.
Yeah, it was just a passion, something I enjoyed. And actually my intro into seeing like a pair of decks was I went to a party with like a relative of mine. He was a little bit older. And that was the first time I ever saw a set of decks in a party. And it was just the way people was like resonated to that part of the party, do you know what I mean? And the music, I remember it was like Scott Garcia, It's a London thing, that had just come out. I remember I can picture the sleeve for that release, do you know what I mean? It's like I'd be going by vinyls, I didn't even own a set of decks.
I was just going to come on to, actually, it's a coincidence you said that we had Scott on the podcast a few months ago.
Yeah.
And he actually told us that his kind of route into his artistry was actually he started off as an MC. He used to go on pirate radio and spit. It was MC Youngblood was his alias back in the day. And then he ended up getting into DJing off the back of that. Now, it sounds like obviously you came into this as a DJ. You still mix now, obviously, but you've also gone into kind of the MC realm as well. Sort of at what point did you kind of make that move from one to the other?
So I'd sort of like, I'd done my groundwork as a local DJ in my area and playing at all the parties, and I definitely was building a name for myself. It's like I remember there was kind of like 3 DJs from my area that had the credibility, as it was. It was like, you know, if we was gonna get on and play a set, then it was a shutdown. You knew what time it was. So I'd sort of been building up my name, and then I started working in Deutsche Bank in 2001. I think it was like my second job after coming out of school, whatever, in the mailroom. And I was working there. And this guy that went to my school, he also somehow miraculously ended up at the same job.
Right.
So I bumped into him in the mailroom. I'm like, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, you know, he knew about me and mixing, and he's like, look, why don't you come and join my group, Knights of the Round Table? I've got a little collective. They already had a DJ at that time. So they kind of give me like a tryout. There was like, you know, come on to Flavour FM. That was the radio station. That was where like Dizzy started. Kano, Nasty Crew, a lot of the grime
I've heard about Flavour
legends
FM.
of today. So it used to be in Rathbone Market in Canning Town. And yeah, went there, done a radio show with them. They loved it, and then that was it. We kept going as Knights of the Round Table. So for a good 3-4 years, I was the DJ, but I had 2 MCs.
Right.
But they had come from like a singing background, because they was always brought up singing, the pair of them, in like a group as well. So they kind of had a little different twist than most of the other MCs, because they would do singing vocals and harmonies live. Do you know what I mean? So, and then long story short, it basically transpired that one of the MCs, Lucky, his cousin was Bushkin from the Heartless Crew. So our first like guest up onto our show on Flavour FM was Heartless Crew in
That's a
like
good
2002, which obviously at the time was just like gas mode through the roof. You know, Heartless was a big deal. Like I grew up listening to them and was just fans of them. So the fact that we had a mutual connect through the group, so we ended up, you know, like following Heartless like around in their prime when they would be doing their Heartless Crew events and whatnot. We would be like supporting them as DJ actor, as whatever. So yeah, that was I think that's where the whole artistry thing started for myself, because I was always writing lyrics. Even though I was the DJ, it was like, that was like the card trick. Do you know what I mean? Because it'd be like, smash, jump on the mic and drop a few bars. So I used to always be writing lyrics, but it was more they brought the confidence out in me to sort of,
Love that.
do you know what I mean? So I remember even the first time going out to Flavour FM, and I ended up going back to back with Sharky Major, big up Sharky Major. But it was like a clash. Do you know what I mean? It was like a clash, because at them point it was like, who's this? Like, you know, he's got lyrics, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it was just a good time, man.
We got to bring the confidence out of you to start spitting on radio as well.
That's not happening. I haven't got.
He's got bars, I promise.
Yeah, I bet you have, man. Everyone's got bars. We talk all day long, so we've all got bars, man.
Right. ID check approved.
Right.
It's time to start moving into the club. But the big question coming in is, who's on the guest list?
I was
want
thinking
3 members.
Yeah, I was thinking about this one on the way up. I was like, who would be on my dream guest list? You know, is it someone that's no longer here? Is it like fanboy mode? You know, it can be a football idol.
We've had a range of answers in the time that we've done this. There's no wrong answers at all.
Some frowned upon.
Some very fun.
Yeah, I bet. I gotta go with someone legendary, you know, to kick it off. I bring Bob Marley in. Bob Marley's the first plus one.
Good to pick the brains of in the.
He's gonna be in the smoking area a lot, I reckon.
Yeah, probably might be. Yeah. So I got 2 more.
Yeah, 2 more.
Oh man, this is so hard. Ian Wright, go on. I bring Ian Wright in.
What a shout! You might not be so familiar.
No, I'm not.
But we're both Arsenal fans. Ian Wright's an Arsenal legend, and he's also a very very friendly guy. He'd be a good laugh on a night out, I reckon.
Top man, Ian Wright. And last but least, who's coming in?
Friend or family?
Yeah, I'll bring my daughter in for the last one.
Nice.
Yeah.
A bit young to be.
She's breaking the rules. Yeah, she's breaking the rules, but she's with her old man, so it's all right. Yeah, exactly.
I actually the first one that we ever did, I actually said Tony Adams for mine, because obviously he was a bit of a nutcase on a night out, wasn't he?
He was a handful.
Has your daughter ever managed to catch a set of yours yet?
She's done multiple things actually. She's jumped on live streams with me, like through lockdown. When I released my album year before last, Vibes in Motion, she actually basically wrote the hook on one of the tunes. Like we started making it. I put it on Instagram, a little video clip. But she basically wrote that hook, and then.
How old is she?
So she's 11 now. at the time, yeah, she was 9. It was a couple of years ago.
Wicked.
So yeah.
Do you reckon she's is she showing kind of potential for being a producer or a singer or a DJ?
About a year and a half ago, my friend was giving her piano lessons because he's a piano teacher. So I was like, that would be a great thing for her to learn an instrument.
Good grounding. Yeah.
Yeah, but that novelty disappeared very quickly.
Really?
Yeah, because at first it was like, yeah, can I come into the studio, Dad? And now it's like she doesn't even come in there.
Turn it down.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. But she's gone through stages where she loves my music. She loves,
Nice.
she loves the tunes.
Okay. Well, the bouncer's pushing us in. We've been standing around too long and we've been holding up the queue. So we need to move from outside to inside
Inside.
the club. So let's head on in to the green room. Let's go.
Zefer, what you telling me, bro?
Welcome aboard before it gets too late. It's Zefer and Smasher rolling on a dub plate. So don't come late to the party. Steppers Club is in motion. Big boy vibes got waves like the ocean.
Inside the club, inside the green room
Wow.
with the new lights.
Look at this production, man. That's how you know we're making money. We got the music money for the production now.
Yeah, well, anyway.
I'm just going to clarify, I'm joking. We're not making any money.
We're in the green room. Ian Wright's chilling in the corner.
Ian right.
Anyway, first thing we're getting out in the green room is the rider.
Okay.
What's on the Smasher rider?
Oh, it's really healthy probably right now because I'm in gym mode. I'm fully in gym mode. So it'd probably
Is
be
that,
like
is that after years of bad decisions? Or has it always been very healthy?
No, not necessarily unhealthy, I would say, but I've never put time into myself where I'm like, okay, I'm actually going to work on myself.
Okay.
So that's what I've been doing consistently for the past 18 months. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So yeah, as far as a rider, like alcohol would probably be very limited on a rider.
Okay.
Maybe chuck in some protein bars,
Okay.
a banana.
That's a mad vibe.
Yeah, this is going to be a crazy rider, one that you've never heard before.
Do you think the new sort of change has helped the music? Does it, in being in good mental state, does it help the ideas flow? Or
possibly.
think
With
it's
music,
better to be
I
out
think
raving and getting inspired.
that's a good question. To be fair, I mean, I think it's probably it's a balance. Like for me, music's always been about the vibe. It's always about
Vibes, emotion.
Yeah, it's got to just flow, man.
It's true.
Like, obviously, we'll get into talking about the track that we've done and stuff, but even like the process with that, it's just like someone could send you something and not all the time it's going to resonate with you. So it doesn't kick off that spark, whether it's that first line, the melody. So for me, it's all very much a vibe-based experience.
I like that.
I really enjoyed this because I've never met a human being in my life that says the word vibe more than Sam Dealey.
Oh,
So
really?
he would have really enjoyed that. Just
Sam, we're going to get on like a house on fire, mate.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Anyway, on the topic of riders still,
Yeah.
no disrespect, but you've been in the game a while. Is there
The old boy. The old boy, he's been in the game a while.
any shocking riders that come to mind?
Mate, do you know what? For probably the first 15 years of my career, like I didn't get a rider. I was lucky to get a drink, mate.
Anyone you've witnessed, like just with a rider, like what are you doing? Or
no,
like that.
probably.
Take us through the history of your rider. Like when you first started getting riders, what were you on?
Mate, that's what I'm
Because
saying.
I presume you weren't getting protein bars like.
Oh hell no! No. I mean, mate, riders didn't exist
Okay.
like back then. They just that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
Unless like promoters just didn't care about me enough. But
So DJs have become what's the word?
spoilt.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of someone that's had really outrageous rider. It would probably been Kalashnikov, UK rapper Kalashnikov.
Okay.
At one point, I was his tour DJ,
cool.
so I was going around the country with him. But yeah, he used to have some crazy riders. One in particular when we went to Hip Hop Kemp Festival in Prague. And I think this was the first time I'd ever actually gone abroad for a DJ booking. And it was the first time he'd ever flown abroad, period. So it was like, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And we got there and the driver, the first thing he was like, have you got what the promoter gave you to give to me, yeah? And it's like a green room, so you can put two and two together at the green room. And we had about a 6-hour drive to this Hip Hop Kemp Festival. But the scenery that we was passing was just like unbelievable. These tall, skinny trees. Yeah, but it was just like that for five hours or whatever it was. But that was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Nice.
I feel like I've just learned so much about that without having been told anything that was on the rider.
If only I could remember the driver's name, that would have made it even better.
Well, we'll be getting some taste of Eastern European garage in not too distant future. But I don't think we'll say any more on that just yet.
Okay.
I think safe to, I think
Sounds exciting.
drop that in. Yeah.
Anyway, on green rooms.
Yeah.
Any iconic green rooms you can remember? Any that need calling out for being so awful?
No, there's been a few. But none in particular that sticks out where I'm like, no, that was bad.
I feel like the Basing House one is, it's pretty non-existent, isn't it? It's a
Basing
kind
House.
of
That was where you
fine.
guys done the event, right?
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember having
that.
I don't remember being in a
there's
green
a
room.
little kind of space behind the decks that wide.
Oh, is that the green room?
Well, I mean, there's not, so like...
that's practically is the green room, yeah.
Higo, we had on the last podcast, was telling us about this green room where it was literally a bench that was cornered off, but like on the pretty much just to the side of the dance floor, so everyone knew, like, could see what was going on, and the artists would just be sat there drinking.
It sounds like the benches they have in my local park. It's like, sit down if you need to talk to someone. They have signs on them like, if you need to talk to someone, sit down. It's like, it sounds like one of those.
We should bring them in for clubs, to be fair. I reckon they get quite popular.
Yeah,
You never know.
might take Tinder out. You never know.
Anyway, there's something going on in the main room in the Steppers Club, and what's going on in there is up to you.
Right.
We want to know what the dream lineup is.
I'm going to go with my first VIP guest. He's on the stage, shelling it down. One Love style, Bob Marley.
Nice.
Skanking
from
out.
the guest list as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Are you going to have a live room and then a DJ room, or is it all in one room?
No, I'm gonna mix and mash it all up in one room. I'm gonna take them on a big journey.
Best way to do it.
Yeah.
And what's the next step in the journey?
I'd go with maybe a hip hop artist, Nas. Someone like Nas, yeah.
Nice.
Not too much garage.
Give me some hardcore rap and lyricism.
Would he spit over some garage?
He could do some halftime. Definitely, he could do a little halftime rap. Yeah, I can hear that.
Back to back with Smasher on the mic.
Yeah, why not?
It's the dream night. Anything goes.
Anything goes. Shall I keep going in the main room?
Keep it
We've got to
going.
get some garage in there.
Well, but whatever you're feeling.
I'm gonna bring in EZ. Dum
Of
dum
course.
dum dum dum. That's it. Dub plate right there.
All right.
Can we just rewind that? Can we get that again?
You should insert EZ's dub plate right there.
Oh, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. Insert that right there, and that's a shellers. That's 1,000 views straight away just for that one piece right there.
Did you? Sorry. Let me rephrase that.
Go on, keep going.
I don't
We'll
know.
unravel it.
I've lost my train of thought now. I had a good question.
It's cool. It will come.
Anyway, just save my embarrassment and let's move on
Nice.
to the next person on the lineup. I don't know why that escaped my head.
You was getting to something. You was getting to something. Was you
something about seeing him live and like in around that time?
Well, see, that was the interesting thing about that time period, is that you would listen to DJs, MCs, but you never knew what they looked like. So my first encounter of actually seeing EZ was a rave in Leighton. I can't remember the name of the park in Leighton. But it's like basically like a festival. Like, that's the way you could put it now. It's like a festival, but going back a long time ago. And EZ he shelled this place down to something rotten. And I remember like stopping him afterwards, and I was like, "You're gonna know about me one day." Like, I give him the spiel, and him being the gent that he was, he just took it all on board. But that's why years later, 2020, I put out a release on New Volve, which I think was EZ's fourth or third release or whatever on the label. So that's when I put that post up. I was like, "See, I did tell you. I told you it late in that time, mate. That, going to be doing something in this garage scene."
Did he remember?
He probably didn't remember. No, he probably didn't remember.
Yeah, that would have been so cool to catch EZ at that time.
I mean, at that point, Heartless Crew was shelling it down. EZ was shelling it down. That's like I said, that was the thing about Pirate Radio. You didn't know what these people looked like. So that's what added to the experience of the first time that you did see them. It was like...
What was the most shocked you've ever been seeing someone for the first time? Where you just didn't expect them to look like that? You just turn up to a show and you'd heard an MC, and you know how you'll hear somebody's voice and you'll kind of picture
do you know
them to be
what?
a certain way.
Skinny Man.
Yeah.
Skinny Man. Like I used to go to...
Was Skinny Man not
Is he
skinny?
not very...
No, but it was just his character, Skinny Man. It was just like... I used to go to the Jump Off, which used to be in King's Cross, ironically, not too far from where we are now.
Yeah.
And they used to have rap battles there.
Nice.
So it's like, you'd hear about all this hype of like, yeah, there's this guy Skinny Man. He's just like killing everyone, like battling. And went down there and check it out, and
There you go.
Skinny Man's a
checking
legend,
out a photo
mate.
now.
He's a ledge, man.
I've not heard of him.
I actually took part in the producer battle there. They used to have a producer battle. Used to be really, really dope. So every week it would be producer versus producer, but you had like MPC, and it would be whatever sounds they'd loaded for you, and you had to put something together in a space of 5 minutes flat, or like a timer. And I took part in it once, and I battled Professor Green's producer, Core.
Okay.
He actually beat me. Big up, Cores.
Have you gotten over that yet?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, man. It's all part of the journey. But again, it was just like, at the time, that's where the confidence was at. I was like, you used to go there, used to watch people, and everyone would leave and critique it and be like, that beat was crap, man. And I was like, well, if I can do better, I need to go out there and prove it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Good.
Skinny Man is definitely,
Skinny Man on the lineup?
He definitely could be, yes.
Nice.
He's got catalogue, he's got tunes.
So you've got Bob kicking off the vibes.
Yeah.
And then rolling in to
Nas.
Nas.
Yeah.
And then EZ.
We could even slip Damian Marley in before
Oh,
Nice.
Bob,
Guest-
because
maybe
him
special
and Nas
guest
have got
appearance.
a joint album as well,
Have they?
which is like classic album, yeah.
Wicked.
So yeah, you never know. See, look, I'm starting to get a little running playlist theme vibe going on here. Do you know what I mean? We're blending them in.
So anyone else after EZ? Or is he shutting it down?
Easy. Well, we need to get some female activity up there, don't we? We need maybe like a Gwen McRae. Keep the fire burning. We're gonna get funky on them.
Yeah. Get back out the garage, back to the...
Or Shaka Khan, feel for you. We get some.
I
yeah.
saw Shaka
Fun
Khan
guy.
live. And it was pretty incredible. The guitarist played a solo with his tongue.
Wow.
Yeah. Their band was insane.
Yeah, usually the level of musicianship
Yeah.
is
So, yeah. Anyway, Shaka Khan. Back to any more garage? Or just EZ?
We'll keep just EZ for now.
Just
Yeah,
EZ,
we'll just
okay.
keep the ratio nice and even.
Who's closing the night?
Who's closing the night? We'll go with Marvin Gaye.
Oh,
Love
I don't think you could pick many better people
Leaving
to
them
get
with
the
something
vibe
beautiful.
off.
Marvin Gaye, yeah, he's shelling it. The bras and panties are coming off everywhere.
Oh my goodness. I think that's the most live act heavy lineup we've had from somebody on the podcast.
Wow,
Which is
yeah,
quite
I'm sure,
interesting.
yeah.
And is that
Like-
kind of a nod, I guess, to your influences, perhaps, in some of them?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I think I'm an old soul at heart, to be fair. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So in the green room, there's a lot of sort, it's behind closed doors. No one else can hear. Let me get into what I'm going to say before you start judging me. But this is the place where we can talk about exclusive artist content. What's coming up for Smasher? Exclusive green room chat that maybe we can leak here.
Look, well, the plan is just to keep offloading music for the rest of the year, to be fair. I got a track, Turn Off the Lights, which would that have been out? Comes out the 16th. This Friday, so no. That track, yeah, so okay.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone go check that one out.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's out now.
Bosh.
I'm in the future.
Is it all garage vibes at the minute? for
That
Smasher?
is that's just an instrumental club style 4/4 garage tip. I've got so much garage music that I'm sitting on, instrumentals and stuff.
Love that.
One of my issues is that I'm constantly making music, so I have more music than I can actually release
Wow.
in
Cool.
in the space of a year. So where I'm at is, I'm independent. I've got my label set up, so I've got my infrastructure to get my tunes out. So I don't have to answer to anybody. So there's no reason for me not to be putting music out consistently. So that's the plan, really, for the rest of the year.
Love that. Anyway, it's about to go off in the main room. I'm keen to see what's going to go down. So let's head on through,
Let's go.
out of the green room, into the main room. Change up the lights. Let's go.
Nice.
Before it gets too late, you don't wanna waste no time and wait. You don't wanna waste no time and wait. Before it gets too late, you don't wanna waste no time and wait. You don't wanna waste no time and wait.
I roll with the new school G's and the old school G's like gangsta, you know my steez. Crowd pleaser, I like to please. Microphones, I like to squeeze.
Okay.
Cold, yeah, I like to freeze.
Wow, the vibes in here are incredible. Using the word vibe for this occasion because in the background I can hear the tune that is out now
It is.
before it gets too late. Smasher x Zefer.
Big
Should we
things.
talk about it? Why it's
Who's
playing?
going to introduce it? I think you should.
I think you should.
Nah, you're the guest. It's your podcast.
Who came up with the name?
Okay, well, I feel like I can answer that. So the name was actually the name that I decided on for the mixtape before we came to do this tune. And when I made this, like most of the like vocalists that I approached on this project, I actually actively tried to approach vocalists that hadn't really done garage before.
Right.
Because I quite like kind of taking somebody from something different and then
Infusing it.
just and seeing what we come up with. But I think when I made this instrumental, I kind of knew that it needed to be like somebody that's actually MCs over garage and like has kind of done that and is kind of accustomed to it. I just think the sound of it was like very much kind of with that old school sort of flavour. So yeah, I ended up shouting Smasher because we'd played a set together a few months prior. wasn't
Yes,
it? It was
that's
earlier
right.
This year.
And what was your first opinion on the tune?
Yeah, I mean, again, it caught me because, like I say, for me, it is all about the vibe. So it's got to connect with me in some way. And I think once I had the first couple bars, because I've got a bit of, I wouldn't say it's unusual, but probably most people just write their lyrics down or they type them into their phone. But the way I tend to record myself is I use the computer like a pad. So I'm recording in real time. I find that it's easier for me to get the ideas out of my head to just say it live, so that was how the bars started to come together. And then I just end up piecing it like a puzzle. So it's, first couple lines. That was why I said to Isaac, I was like, what's the title of the project, and he was like,
I'm having that.
before it gets too late. So I was like, because I always, try and think about how I can incorporate it so that it ties in with the rest of the project, and just worked on that little hook idea before it gets too late. And when I spoke to Isaac, he was like, he didn't think it was going to be like a standout sort of song on the project.
Just based off the beat.
Based off the beat.
Yeah.
But in some ways that was good that he sort of planted that seed, because it kind of put the battery in my back. So I was like, you don't think this is going to be a single, do you? Okay. Watch my Shaolin technique.
Yeah, at that time, I think like half the project had been recorded, and I knew from very early that the Liam Bailey one was going to be one of the singles. And then, like, I don't know if I haven't actually announced the other tunes yet, the other features, so I won't name anyone else. But I think I wasn't quite 100% sure. I hadn't quite really made my mind up. And then, yeah, I mean, to be honest, the vocals I got back from you took me off guard, because obviously I knew it was going to be sick, but it was like the harmonies and the amount of singing in it was like, I don't think enough like people try and kind of bring those two together on one vocal performance. And yeah, I mean, that my sort of whole sound, and obviously the sound of the project is kind of like summer, melodic, like funky sort of garage, and it just all came together like seamlessly. So yeah, like I think once I got the vocals in, it didn't take very long to realise that had to be the other single. But yeah, no, it's a credit to you as an artist how it turned out, because I think you carried me on that track. I can't lie.
Oh well, listen, thanks, man.
The vocal performance on it is unreal.
I do actually love the beat of that one though.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the beat is great. I actually had a sax player come down to do a session with me a couple of weeks ago, so I was just playing him some new bits, and as soon as I put that on, the door was open. He was like, "Yeah, man, this is vibe."
We'll have to get a saxophone VIP.
Well, we could do that. Yeah, for sure, we could do that
before it gets too late.
Before it gets too late.
That one did not land.
Yeah, but we had the same thing when I did that tune with SBK, which is called 100%, and that entire podcast we just made like 100% related jokes.
Well, no, he
carried on saying it, didn't he?
It was just like his catchphrase almost, that every question I'd asked him, he went 100%.
Yeah. Somebody tweeted us after that podcast
other.
being like, why did he say that like 25 times on that?
I think it was subtle promo, maybe. Yeah. So yeah. All right. Anyway, before it gets too late and you jump on for your set, we need to go to the bar.
Okay. I love that transition. Unreal.
And see what the drink is, the dream drink. What are you ordering from the bar? Because you don't drink at the minute, is that right?
Well, it's not that I don't drink, but
okay. Just not when you're working, maybe.
No, do you know what? Actually, when I DJ and I drink, I get in, like, if I'm quite drunk, I tend to play 10 times better.
Is that you think you're playing better with the crowd?
It probably is that. In my head, I'm like, I'm EZ times 10 after like 6 Red Bulls. But
EZ's gonna know.
The crowd are like, it sounds more like pots and pans in my kitchen. I think I do play better when I've had a drink, but I don't drink a lot.
Well, let's say it's a big night then. What would be your drink of choice? Special occasion.
A special occasion.
Before it gets too late, it's just come out. You're out celebrating.
We got to pop something. Yeah. Okay. All right. I just go for a brandy and Coke.
Love that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just keep it nice and simple.
Any particular brandy?
Courvoisier.
Okay.
Maybe.
Nice.
It's the dream club.
We can make it happen.
I love that. Right. So let's head on up to the decks, to the stage. EZ's just shelled it down.
Yeah.
The headline act, Smasher, squeeze you in before Shaka Khan jumps back in.
I'm rolling.
What's the opening tune?
Opening tune. I'm rolling. Rolling.
Let's talk about rolling.
Let's talk about it.
Probably, well, it's a very like, I remember listening to that like in the car.
Yeah.
Rolling around in the car. That was a weird thing to say. But yeah, I love that tune. So let's talk about the process, how it came together, the other MC feature on it.
So there's no one featured on it. Oh, sorry, Creed. Yeah, Creed.
Yeah.
Creed's on it. Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit unorthodox the way I put him into the record because we'd already recorded something in my studio space I'd done called rolling sessions, where I would just invite an MC down and we just have a little rinse out basically. But in recording that session, I had Creed obviously just like on an old SM58 mic. So, you know, recording of my mix, recording of him separately.
Oh, cool.
So I had all of his vocals for that whole 15-minute session of him just saying, yes, Smasher, bring it in. And
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So then I was, once I'd sort of done the tune, I was like, actually, this would be really dope if Creed was on it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, actually, I've got some Creed vocals.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, cut them up, placed them in around my Vox and reached out to Creed and I was like, look, I've done this tune, but you don't actually need to come and do nothing. I just need your permission to like, you know that you're cool with it. And Creed being the absolute gent that he is, he was just like, yeah, I got you, mate, whatever you need. But yeah, Rolling itself, it come out, was it 2019? I think I'd been sitting on it possibly for 2 years before it come out.
Wow.
How come you sat on it for so long?
So I'd made this album prior to sort of going on this garage tangent, as it were. Obviously, I've always loved garage, but as far as putting my focus as an artist into making garage, I hadn't been doing it at that point. I was making like much more a hip hop sound, and that was the one garage record basically that I had on the project. And I'd played it to a few people, and a couple of people just pointed out, I was like, that's definitely a single, you should just let that go. But again, I don't know why. I just didn't think anyone was going to like Rolling. I just, you know, you get into your own producer, artist head where you think, no one's going to like it, whatever. Hence why I just sat on it for a couple of years. And then obviously once I released it, I could feel the energy off of the response I was getting. And then I was going out my way. I recorded like probably 50 plus dub plates for DJs, like unpaid. Just like putting their name in the record, getting it to them, getting it to Easy, you know, whoever. And then, could just feel that there was a vibe there for that. And then that's kind of what kicked me to just go, you know what, let me just put this hip hop project on hold for a piece and concentrate on doing a bit more garage. And then I done Keep It Locked, which was like a strong follow up, had this Mike Skinner sample again. It was like a radio drop that I'd got from him on a dictaphone. Just saying, hey Smasher, this is Mike Skinner from the streets. There, so you recognise my voice. I'm that cheesy pop geezer. Yeah, man, keep it locked. That was the jingle. So I was like, right, let me just chop up, keep it locked, vibes in a stash, keep it locked, you're rolling with, and that was it, you know. So basically, ended up doing an album, Locked In, Locked On, off the back of Rolling. Rolling was the catalyst for that whole project because I could feel the response was good. So why not continue to make more garage?
So, because Rolling was the tune I discovered to you,
right?
So I'm not like fully aware of what was going on with you before Rolling.
Okay.
So what you're saying, hip hop?
Well, I was going like as far as being an artist. I was experimenting more with a hip hop sound.
Okay.
Because I mean, if you was to go and check my discography, like back in the Channel U days. It seems like a lifetime ago, but you know, I would have been putting out hip hop records or was making hip hop. Like my first song that ever got playlisted on radio, which was One Extra, was a hip hop record. It started out on the C list and then literally went to the A list on One Extra. But at this time, I didn't even know what a playlist was. You know, I was just making these beats in my shed in my mum's garden, and I found this Marvin Gaye sample, Troubled Man. Flipped it. His tune was called Take My Advice, but literally that song was like Choice FM, the heads of Choice FM was requesting it had to be on their playlist. One Extra went from C list to A list, and that was 2006.
Was that under Smasher?
So that was a Smasher, and that was featuring another rapper called Loudmouth.
Cool.
But I produced the beat, and it was a free beat. I'd never heard. Well, the only other person I'd heard do a free beat was on a Nas album. There was a track on one of his outfits, it was Godson album called Heaven or Heaven is a Mile Away or something like that. But it was a free pattern. And the way that the sample was, it basically, I had to make the beat in that format, in this free format. But there was nothing else on the radio like that really. So I'd probably started out more say making hip hop than I did garage first. When I first started producing music, probably 2001.
Right.
I started making music on PlayStation, Music 2000.
Wow.
I've not heard that before.
Music 2000. So that was like a game that you got on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And it would give you little pre-made building blocks like Tetris, and then you would take that block. That would be a 4/4 beat pattern or whatever.
Crazy.
But I used to make beats on that and then record them out of the PlayStation onto a mini disc. And then I'll take that mini disc to Music House in Tottenham and cut it onto acetate. And then I'll go onto Pirate Radio and play it.
Mental. Have you still got it?
Yeah, I've still got all my acetates. I've got this one track called it was like a flip of Sega.
Yeah.
So I got my little brother to play Sega, whatever, do you know what I mean? And I'll chop that of Sonic the Hedgehog. That was what I'd done. I sampled Sonic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I literally had the whole beat. It's like chopping in Sega. Dun, 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 dun,
Can you send us that?
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
We'll
That'll-
clip
yeah.
it,
That's
yeah.
that's unreal.
I'll send you the video of it on acetate.
That's crazy.
But so that was where, as far as producing, that was where it started, basically, was on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And obviously
mental, yeah.
at this
I
point,
heard that.
2000, 2001, even to get a computer, it wasn't just like, oh, go to the shop and buy a computer. I remember I used to go to Stratford Computer Fair and you'd buy all of the parts for the PC, find a boff that could make the computer, you know, and then so that was where, so I was like self-taught. I started on the first version of Reason. I don't know what version they're on now of Reason. It's probably 10 or 12.
12, I think, yeah.
I started on the very first version.
Wow.
So there was no YouTube at this point. I couldn't go onto YouTube and go, how do I create this sound? So it was just literally all trial and error. And obviously grime was booming, not booming, but there was this buzz of grime. And I lived in the heart of East London at the time, Stepney. Dizzy Rascal, I used to drive past him because I'd see him on the street corner. You know, Wiley, all these, the grime scene was around the area, and that was the thing on Pirate Radio. So that was what I started making, was grime. So my first actual ever vinyl release is a grime release. And I remember I went to all my friends, I was like, yeah, I'm going to press this on vinyl. They was like, nah, don't do it, man. It's like, they're not cutting it, you know. But I was just so, I had my heart set on like, no, I want my own release. I want my own vinyl.
Yeah.
You know, I sold them 500 copies, 2 weeks flat, bang.
Wow.
Probably sold 300 out of Rhythm Division.
Yeah.
Just that one shop alone, which was
Really?
like, you know, the hub of grime.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
So then that's when I was like, okay.
Probably loads of
got
people
something.
buying two.
Yeah,
They
there's like-
loved it so much.
Even now, that sells for good money. That same release is on Discog. It sells for good money. I wish I had a box of 50 in my loft, to be honest, because I'd be sitting on a
You
little...
got to get a repress. Surely that's worth the 6 month wait.
Maybe, you know, you never know. You never know. But,
So yeah, grime heads will clip this one now.
so I mean, yeah, if you want, I'll send you those tracks as well. China, that was the lead track on that EP. But yes, up until that point, it was still it's all DIY, just figuring it out, learning as you go. And I think around 2005, I got my first paid remix. And that's when I was like, I'm in now.
Yeah.
I'm in. 500 quid? What, 500 quid for a remix?
Yeah,
okay. I'm in.
Wicked. And you've not always produced under Smasher, is that right?
Yeah, so 2013, because I've always worked closely with a good friend of mine, Aaron, big up Aaron. He does the backing vocals on Rollin', and he also plays some musical parts on it, like the Twinkly Bell pieces. Because it's quite musical. If you listen to Rollin', it's actually quite musical.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
If you
I was
strip back
going to
the
ask
drums.
if the Rhodes was like, is that a sample?
So that would be Aaron playing it. Everything is the only sample in there is some drums, and I'm not going to say who the drums are from because people know who the drums are from. But everything else is all original.
Love that.
So like Aaron is someone that I'd worked really closely with. I think I met Aaron maybe 2005, 2006, and him being a talented musician, I've never been like very theory based with music. I've always been button bashing, vibes. Does it sound right? Probably a lot of my stuff, if you said to someone that's musically trained, they go, that's not right.
Yeah.
You know, but I've always come from that raw angle, and it's worked for me, you know. So linking with Aaron is like, just started working really closely with him. And he's opened up my musical ear, like even with our track, the BVs. That's really me channeling Aaron.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being totally honest, because he's a singer as well.
Yeah.
And just through spending like 10 plus years in the studio with him, he's someone that would always sing in harmony. So if you're listening to a record, he's singing in harmony. So now my ear has picked up harmonies. I can hear harmonies. Like even the other week I done a session with a sax player, but I'm singing the harmony, and he was like, "What's that?" I was like, "That's me. I'm singing that." He's like, "Yeah, let me put that in. Let me play that in." So again, it's just he's brought the confidence out in myself.
That's cool.
To expand my artistry, really.
Love that.
But yeah, so sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked. But yeah, I produced. We basically made a producer duo called White Label, and we signed with Virgin Records 2013, 2014. We signed a single called Runaway, which at that point you had like Disclosure was popping. They'd come with their first album. Gorgon City, you had a lot of these producer duos popping up, and it kind of felt like what we was trying to do with the style of music we was making, it didn't really fit under the Smasher brand.
Okay.
So that actually took me a little while to get my head around that, because whether it's an ego thing or that you're attached to something. So that was a real big learning curve, because that was the first time. Obviously, I'd done things with major labels, plenty of remixes and stuff like that, but actually signing an artist deal as the two of us was a whole new experience, and we learned an awful lot, because we went through probably 3 years of working with a lot of singer-songwriters, some very successful, some probably not about now, you know, so...
Any big ones you can disclose?
Yeah, definitely. The first session we had was Ed Druitt in our studio Shapes in Hackney Wick. We had a studio space there, and he just wrote the best song ever for One Direction, and I think it went like #1 in however many countries. And like he's walked through the door, and obviously we're a little bit like thinking, "Oh, that he's a big deal." Do you know what I mean? He's just wrote like hit. And we just got on with him like an absolute house on fire. And he was like, "I love garage. Come, let's make a garage tune." Do you know what I mean? And then that was it. Do you know what I mean? So that was what we done. Obviously, our thing, White Label, was basically trying to put a spin on garage.
There wasn't
Did you
a
get
huge
to
amount of
release that?
garage going on around that point, though, was there? It was. I feel like the scene was in a bit of a strange place.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely leaning more down the house route than garage. Like Disclosure was the standout ones that was just having it off, really. Even like, I think their album, that first album's now 10 years old.
Settle, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, which is a classic. The album is a classic. But, yeah, there was definitely a space for it. There was a space for producer duos and stuff.
Can I ask if you released that one with Ed Druitt?
No, so I've still got a lot of the songs that we wrote with various different singer-songwriters. I've still got all of those sessions, because we was in a deal with Virgin. We were basically, you're going into the studio, writing these tunes, sending them to your A&R, who's probably in Soho House in New York, you know, checks his emails once a week. And like, that's basically the vibe we was going through. It was like, we were churning out this music to get an answer to say, yeah, that's your record. Like, we signed the first single, we had another 2 singles, and then a potential album deal on the table. So it was for us, it was a big deal. Do you know what I mean? On paper, like even as far as family and stuff like that, it's like, oh, you've been doing music all this time, but this is the first piece of paper on the table that's actually got a significant amount of money on it. That's like, oh, actually, this is a career now. This is no longer a little hobby. You just
that's got to be the
most.
Was that the most exciting it was for you?
It was exciting. It was stressful. I mean, because my daughter was only like a baby then, so yeah, it's like, so I had that pressure. I was like, you know, having a newborn. And it's like, actually, you got to make a go of this. And then I think at that point as well, it weren't too far that we just moved into a studio space. So prior to that, I was working out of my mum's shed. So it's like, there's no pressure. There's no outgoings as such. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but then you've got a studio space all of a sudden, that's £500 a month. You know, there's more pressure. You sign to a label, more pressure. You need a hit. You need, you know, or like a record that we can go to market with. I mean, the A&R that signed us, he literally come in the room, played the record to him once, and he was like, "Yeah, who's your lawyer? I want to do the deal."
Well,
Walked out the door.
Really?
And we signed the record with him.
gosh.
And and the artist actually, it was on it. Like even that was a part of the learning experience, because he was probably seeing pound signs and thinking, "This is it now. I'm off."
Yeah.
So then we had all this legal battle, and it was like he wanted to be a featured artist, and it was like, bro, you've not even released a record before yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, learn to walk before you can run sort of thing. And so we had all of that to deal with, but ultimately, like, we met some amazing songwriters through that process. I think maybe one of the only songwriters we didn't get in the room with was Emanike, and he was the one that was like churning out the hits at that point. Like, he had that big record with Gorgon City, Ready for Your Love.
Yeah.
So I think at that point in time, there weren't probably many people that we didn't get in the room with. But ultimately, it's all part of the journey. That's the way I look at it now. I went through a stage where I was quite frustrated about it, if I'm being honest, because we wrote all of this music that amounted to nothing.
Yeah. And can you not do anything with that now, is it?
Well, there's no reason to say that we couldn't,
Yeah.
but then it's opening up the can of worms to revisit them songwriter. I've probably not spoke to them in 10 years now. Do you know what I mean? A pop up out of the blue. Yeah, do you remember this?
You should just put them out as white label tunes with no one's name on them. And just see what.
Yeah, I mean, look, another person that we done a session with was what's his name, man? He just had a credit on the Stormzy album that come out.
Just before we go on anywhere else, actually, because you obviously said that you did that deal with Virgin, and we've, you know, on and off the podcast, spoken to a whole range of artists across the industry over the last few years, and we've obviously heard, I think, quite mixed experiences with obviously not just working with majors, but working with kind of bigger labels, full stop. Like, how was your experience, kind of, I guess, going from making tunes in your mum's shed to then working with a big label like that, where at the end of the day, regardless of whether you have a good experience with them or not, there's always going to be maybe a little trip up in the contract somewhere, or, you know, what was your experience like with that?
I mean, what I would take away from it is, I think my thinking was that, when we sign with a major, everything will get taken care of. And actually, that's this completely wrong approach to have.
It's the start of the problem.
Yeah, because it's like, it's actually, you need to take more control and be more hands-on, which we did to some extent, because even the first video that was shot, even that was so weird. It was like, right, we're going to shoot a video for this song, you know, we'll get you some video treatment, send over, I'll see what one you like. And we ended up going, like, our manager, he ended up sourcing the director for us, a guy called Daps. He's actually a really big deal. Like, he's shot videos for Drake and various people.
Right.
And we ended up going with this storyline for the video that was like, there was, you know, stuff around what was happening in America with people getting stops and guns and this, that. So we tried to do like a little bit of a political, not political, but a hint of something in the story, when actually it's just a feel-good record. Like, didn't need to be that. But it was just the whole process, like, your video is going to be done, shot out in LA using a Cadillac and a couple of actors or whatever. And then we just got the end product.
Right.
You know, and it was just like, I remember we got T-shirts made and everything for the video, because we was thinking, right, well, now we're going to start expanding into merch. So we need some T-shirts made. So we get them shipped out to LA, get them in the video. You know, went and see a top agent or whatever. Right, we're going to take you on our books. We think you got a top 5 record. We never had one booking from that agent.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like all of this expectation to actually lead you to nothing.
Gosh.
So I won't say nothing, but I mean, because obviously the skills that you learn from it in turn is valuable.
Not what you were expecting.
Definitely not what we was expecting. Okay. And to be fair, it could have easily gone the other way, because had that first, maybe the first record wasn't good enough. Do you know what I mean? Had that connected at radio or connected with pluggers, then it's a completely different ball game. But as they say, you got to be in it to win it, right?
Yeah.
So
Right. True you say.
So, slightly off, not still on the topic, but I want to ask, favourite tune or proudest tune you've made to date?
So it wouldn't be for the technical side as musically, but just the whole story and the way it came around. It's a track that I done with my friend Aaron for the Gigs album Landlord in 2016.
You know, it's so mad for me, by the way, now, like, that I listened to that when I came out as a fan, Nowhere, and, like, obviously having heard those tunes and stuff, and then obviously not knowing who you were or not knowing you at that point, and then obviously now knowing that you contributed to that album, it's mad. But,
I mean, yeah, it's crazy, and the way it come around is even more crazy because basically I was just working my job. I was working in a car park in Shoreditch, and Giggs' manager come in, and I knew him. I had a relationship with him, and he was like, "I know you've got beats, man. I know you've got some beats. Like, send me some beats." I was like, "Yeah, I'll send you some stuff." Didn't get round to doing it. Then he come to park in the car park again, like a week later, and he's like, You didn't send me no tracks." And I was like, "You know what? I'm so sorry, man. I'm 100% like I'm gonna get you a folder over tonight." And I went home. Yeah. And, you know, it's always that thing like when you're pitching beats to an artist. Like I find that quite difficult, knowing what's gonna work for someone. Because 9 times out of 10, what you think they want, they don't actually want.
Yeah.
So I just put like a little diverse selection, like a traditional sounding hip hop beat, you know, maybe a trappy sounding one.
Yeah,
so I sent over like 10 instrumentals.
Yeah.
Didn't hear nothing, sent them over. 2 weeks goes by. Giggs phones me. I get a phone call from Giggs. He phones me. He's like, Did you make these beats? And I was like, "Well, yeah, I did send them over, like kind of thing." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to jump on this right now for the album." I was like, "Sick, like amazing." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was quite, I think, a big album for him because he wasn't allowed to tour up until that point. So that was the first album that he's actually been allowed to go and perform shows because police was stopping him from doing shows and X, Y, and Z. And obviously, when I heard the final like product on the album, and the track's called "The Best."
Where were you when you first heard it, the final thing? Was it? I presume you heard it before it came out, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if they sent it to me. I think they must have sent me. Because I remember he phoned me one time. Was like, "Can you send me the stems?" And that's when I went into the page of the beat, and I checked the date of it, and that beat was 5 years old before it landed in his hand.
That's crazy.
Because I remember I had made that beat for a completely like an artist. I made that in the room with an artist.
Yeah.
He ended up didn't like use it, and it was just like another beat that I'd made, and it sat on my hard drive.
Yeah.
So that's why I love the story about this record, because I actually just got a plaque for it a couple of weeks ago.
I saw that.
Because the album went silver.
Yeah.
So I sold 60,000 copies, the album.
Yeah.
That's my like biggest, you know, on paper track that's done well. But what that proves to me is that as a producer, this is a message to all the producers out there, because I know we're all the same. We make beats and we put them aside, and you know we forget about them.
Yeah.
And they're old to us, but they are brand spanking new to someone else, and that's what we have to remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the fact that that was 5 years old before that even landed in his hand, and then for it to come out and do what it done. And I actually went to, I think it was Hammersmith Apollo, I think that he done his first show. And I went to it and witnessed it live.
Yeah.
And it's like when they played that tune, it's like it did wheel up, do you know what I mean? Where the crowd like responded to it. And that's when I was just like, you know, and then I, you know, just like from that I started to like bear in mind, I'd never met Giggs before as an artist. So it's even more, you know, you've got this perception of someone that you've never met. And then the second time I met him, again, he come into the car park to park.
Really?
And like, you know, he's with his friend and he's like, "Oh, well, did you make The Best? Like, did you make that beat?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to link Swiss Beats in Shoreditch House.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to come?"
Really?
And I'm like, I'm thinking like, what, next week? Like, you know, he's like, "No, I'm going to meet him right now. Do you want to come?"
Yeah.
Literally 5 minutes later, I was sitting
That's great.
in Ace Hotel having a brandy with Swiss Beats.
That's mental.
And I was just like, but that's the kind of person that he is. That's why I was like, the respect that I have for him as an individual.
Yeah.
If I think about the 20 years of music and the people that I've encountered and things that people go out their way to do for you.
Yeah.
You'll find that there's not a lot of people that go out their way to be like, I'm going to go and you want to come and meet this person.
You got to get gigs on some on a bit of garage.
I did actually do a remix of that beat, but it was like a grime version of it, and I sent it to him, and he was like, "Nah, I don't think that's gonna work. It's a bit overkill." But again, that's sitting on my hard drive. Bandcamp.
Yeah. No one has to know.
But so yeah, just that for me, it's like not technically the beat, because actually the beat, it's one of them ones. That beat was made in 15 minutes flat.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
no more than 9 stems.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So it's like you see things on these producer podcasts where you got like Timberland and producers and people talking about, and they always say it's the ones that they make in 0 minutes flat.
Yeah.
The simplistic ones, they're the ones that go on to be the most successful.
Yeah, true.
Do you get on it like? Do you still use your MPC to produce?
No, so I'm on Machine.
Oh, Machine. Okay.
Machine, yeah.
Because I've got a vision of you now, like Arab Music. You know Arab Music.
Yeah. Triplets. They're 32 triplets.
Are you able to do that? On
yeah. I can I can bash out patterns and stuff like that.
That's mad.
Like another crazy story, which I might as well say for the podcast because it's quite a good story. But I had a studio on Hackney Road next to the premises, and Target from One Extra.
I remember saying you shared
and Danny Weed. They had a studio next door to me, but I'd already known them guys from like where I had another studio space years ago at Cable Street, which is basically where Roll Deep used to be, and there was loads of people in them studios. Yeah. So anyway, when I moved into this space, them guys were my next door neighbour, but they was the first ones that I ever saw with the Native Instruments machine, because I think they had it like when it fresh come out, they'd got an endorsement for it. So while one of them was on the phone, I was like, oh, let me have a little go on that. And I made this beat on the machine. Yeah. Again, tapping around, 5 minutes, quick thing. And I thought, obviously I'd had the track with Gigs, and I thought, Gigs would sound like hard on this beat. So I recorded it on my Instagram. I think it was 15 seconds clip or whatever it was. All right, so I recorded it on Instagram. Sent that to Gigs. Didn't hear nothing. I think 2 days went past. He phoned me and was like, yeah, that beat you sent me. He's like, my man said, send it. Yeah. I was like, who? Who are you talking about? He's like, yeah, Drizzy, innit? Dre, he said, send the beat. I was like,
you're joking.
Are you kidding me? Like, but I don't even have a copy of this beat myself. It's just something I've made on the spot. Yeah. So I've had to phone Danny and said, Dan, like, I need to get into your studio now. Like, you know what I mean? It's like 11:30 at night. I literally went down, picked him up at like midnight, got into the studio, got the stems out, sent it over. But nothing ever come back from it.
Damn. But how long ago was that?
So that was just after the Lounge Safe. That came out 2016. It was maybe end of 2016, 17.
Right.
But the irony is that like Danny, this guy's studio I made the beat in, he knew Gigs. Right. So he sort of reached out to him and was like, look, is this bullshit or what? You know what I mean? Is this like hype? And he sent him the screenshot from Drake. Yeah. And he said, this beat is hard. Really? In capital letters. Really? So that's what I was like.
You know what? That's like, because you've got that for the rest of your life, and that's even like having.
It's a cool story.
Yeah, even
cooler if he used it and he went triple platinum.
It's true. That would have been nice. But that's still. I feel like most producers would be very happy for Drake to hear their beat full stop, let alone hear it, think it's sick, and then wanna.
I mean, undoubtedly, if it wasn't,
there might be a demo of it out there that he never released.
Who knows? Listen, if it wasn't for Gigs sending it in the first place, again, that's why for me, from a respect point of view, it's just like, who does that? Like, who does that kind of shit? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm just gonna send this beat over there. Yeah. Like, God, if I had him as my manager, I'd be laughing right now. But
this is a public appeal to Gigs. You've got to start managing Smasher.
Well, yeah, crowdfund. Let's make it happen. But yeah, it's just like so close, isn't it? But like you say, what I took away from it was that one of the biggest artists in the world heard a beat that I made and they thought it was good.
I feel like that's validation that you are a good producer if you ever needed it.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Possibly.
Wicked, man. Look, anyway, we've been in the main room for almost too long, but you're getting close to the end of your set.
Okay.
So the big question now is, right now, for you, what's the closer? What are you leaving them with?
I feel like we've got to go out quite lively.
Okay.
Might be, General Levy. I might get some original nutter in there or something like that. We need an encore. That's like usually how it goes at the end of the night. A bit of jungle classic. We want more. We want more.
Which one?
Yeah, it's got to be original. No, isn't it original?
Original Nutter, yeah.
Oh, you mean
No, that's UK
Incredible.
Apache, isn't it? Yeah, Incredible. One was talking about Incredible. Yeah, cut. Yeah, Incredible. I've done a session with General Levy as well. He was unbelievable.
Oh, I actually have quite a cool story.
I've got a dub plate, General Levy dub plate, one away.
Wow.
Because I obviously work in a cafe in like, basically I saw General Levy walking around and I was like, oh, I really recognise that guy, and I wasn't 100% sure it was him. And he came up to me and he asked me for a fork because he was obviously like up to this other studio. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, mate, I'll get you a fork. And I got him a fork and I gave it to him and he went, wicked. I was like, oh yeah.
So there's ever a punchline, yeah.
So yeah, that's what that. And then I was like, oh shit.
His energy, man, he's got.
That's how you know he's real, if he's saying it even when he gets past a piece of cutlery. Not just for the music.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when my session that I done with him was wicked. So, ironically, because he told me the whole story about how he made that tune.
Yeah.
And like, it's got a really complex story to that song.
Right.
And I worked on a.
People hated him for it, right?
Yeah, they tried to like ridicule him. Basically, he was like, he was the bad news. Like he couldn't walk down the road without getting. But I done some music production for a music documentary that come out on Channel 5, The Evolution of Black British Music. You can watch it back online, but he talks about the story in that documentary. It's dope.
Yeah,
check it out.
Anyway, it's time. Are you a smoker?
No.
Okay. Well, I assume, you like to go out in the smoking area maybe sometimes to get some air because the vibes are a bit intense. Well, nevertheless, we need to head outside and grab some air because it's hot in the Steppers Club. Let's move on in to the smoking area. Let's go.
Mic check 1 2, we're killing it, yo. Welcome to the show, we're ready to roll. Welcome to the show, we're ready to go, go, go.
Right, we're back outside the club. What a vibe in there.
Bit Shaka Khan.
Yeah, Shaka Khan's on now. Be ashamed to miss it, but I've seen it before.
She ain't all that.
Anyway, in the smoking area, you're not a smoker, you said?
No.
Do you like the smoking area? Do you tend to avoid it?
Yeah, I don't mind a smoking area. I've been in plenty of those in the past.
What was the
iconic ones?
Yeah, what was the one like in Prague that you went when you went?
Oh, that was unreal.
That must have been like a scary place.
Do you know what? It wasn't really, to be fair, because obviously it was just in and out. Like you go there, your festival, it's just, everything's like 100 miles an hour. You're in, you got to do this, you got to do that. I think the most scariest thing was I didn't have a track list for the artist, and I was about to step out on stage to about 5,000 people, and I'm like, bro, can you just let me know the order that we're gonna, what's coming?
Yeah.
So that's a bit nerve wracking.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So he was like, you got to follow the vibe. You just got to follow the
Go
vibe.
with the vibes. If not, you just got to perform one tune
Good luck,
on loop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. All right. Anyway, one thing I wanted to chat to you about in the main room.
Yeah.
But now we're outside. We can hear each other speak a bit better. But I want to talk about your tune "Waiting" with Todd Edwards,
Matt Jam, Scott Diaz. Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, man.
Process.
Yeah, them guys
come together.
Got the whole band together.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Scott was the first person to reach out to me, and he was like, we're thinking of maybe getting some vocals on this. What do you think? And similar to our track, it just the vibe just clicked on it straight away. And I think by the end of the evening, that was it. All the vocals was down, the track was done. Same thing, I just sent it back to him the next day, and I think they was quite taken back to get the amount of vocals that I'd sent back to them. And they was like, look, we think this is really strong. We want to do it as a single. And then obviously the whole sort of process of having Todd Edwards involved in it in some capacity, just straight away for me was just like, well, fanboy moment. Do you know what I mean? It was it was Todd Edwards mix CD inside the mix to come out Locked On Records when. That was my introduction to house and garage. Like literally, that was my intro. So anything to have Todd involved and to have my name next to it in an official release, I was like, there's probably not a lot of artists, let alone MCs, that could say, I've got a track with Todd. The God.
What year were like? Where were you when Todd first? Like, there's that iconic clip where he's like first come to the UK and he drops that.
I was there that night.
No,
I was there.
No, you were
in Romford. Time and Envy. I was there.
In the crowd?
I was there. I was probably probably close to the front. The irony is that when I watched that clip back,
You're not in it?
I'm not in the clip, but there's people at the front that I know that are in the clip. So like we have a little banter about that.
So you were there for that piece of history.
I was actually there.
Wow.
Well, run that clip now, and if you're watching,
I mean,
on the
that makes my hairs stand up.
Yeah.
Like when I've watched that back, the reaction is just.
Has any show you've been to rivaled that ever since? Hard to,
garage wise, I mean, the only other act that could rival that would be someone like Heartless Crew. Like what I've seen them do to venues is just it's not fair. No, there is like, you know, some raves that we've been to with them.
Yeah.
It's going off.
Yeah.
Vibes are through the roof.
Yeah, mad.
And then what were you? What kind of age were you? Was like Matt Jam, Tough Jam, like?
Yeah, they was again the Dons as well. Like as far as when I was collecting records, obviously I give them a shout out on the track.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, like my whole thing, you couldn't not really know about them guys if you was into garage. At that point, there was few people that was just like the staple. And Todd Edwards, Matt Jam, Tough Jam was very much at the forefront of that. And then Wookie came along. Obviously, you had MJ Cole.
Who was your favourite in that, like producer-wise, that you sort of around that time? Would you say?
I've got a lot of favourites. Obviously, even it was the other day. I was listening to One Extra, and they was playing like a Wookie mix, and they was talking about his first album. And actually, it's sort of overpassed how many bangers. Like obviously, he's got so much great music. But when they was running back through, but it's hard to point out one. But from an underground perspective, for me, Ant Hill Mob, they was all like they're much more underground to these names that maybe the masses would know, your MJ Coles and your Wookiees. But just their sound, that they was. I bought everything of theirs, if not doubles. Like I would pay 40, 50 quid for one vinyl going back in them days, you know.
Yeah.
Which is probably like 200 quid today, do you know what I mean, for one record. But that's how much I would pay for it.
Fair.
So, but there's too many, man. There's too many great producers that's come through garage.
Yeah, man.
It's like,
did you ever manage to get in the studio with Wookie?
So no, I've never been in a studio with Wookie. I've never been luckily enough to do that. But I'm very good friends with his youngest brother, SG, who directed and filmed Rolling, the video. Right. He's also a producer. SG is a producer. He's had releases on Defected and. They just got their family is just musical, basically.
Right.
Like when I first met Simon SG, when he said to me, "Oh, my dad works at the Cutting House, Music House, which was like a famous cutting place for cutting your dubs." So a lot of the jungle DJs and they would all go to the cutting houses just to cut their dubs to go and play them in the clubs. But you'd go there and that was like a full day out to go and cut your dubs at Music House. It's like that was a whole day you had to designate to do that. Especially for someone like me going in there, I was no one. So it's like, yeah, mate, you're back of the queue. Like you'd have Rodigan coming in or DJ Hype, you know, all these big boys, they just jump in the queue, do you know what I mean? Because they know them all. And I'm like young, 17, just like happy to be there. Basically, I never forget the first time I cut a dub plate and DJ Hype was there, and I think I had like a mashup of like DJ Zinc jamming and 138 Trek. That was like a thing. Then Slimsy used to have a sick dub plate with like an 8-bar mashup. So I basically tried to make my own, but it wasn't as good.
Right.
So I went in to cut it, and they was like, "What's the point in?" DJ Hype was like, "What's the point in cutting that?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Who are you, mate?" Do you know what I mean? But obviously, I was just so full of confidence at that time. I was like, "Well, who are you, mate?" Like, never heard of you. Do you know what I mean? But that was the confidence that I had. It was just. But then we come out there, my pal was like, "Bruv, do you know who that is? Like, it's DJ Hype, bruv." Like, so, but you know, good times, man.
And you were 17 when that happened?
Probably, yeah. I was definitely cutting dubs at 17.
Mad.
In my first job, when I worked in the mailroom at Deutsche Bank, because it was like attached to Deutsche Bank, they used to have the account for Deutsche Bank.
Yeah.
So I used to send courier drivers on their books to go and cut my dub plates.
Wow.
Well, Deutsche Bank better not hear about that then.
Well, I think they got the money, man. It's all right.
Anyway, look, the Steppers Club has almost come to an end.
Sadly.
The doors are almost closing. But the last questions we sort of like to ask is, were you and are you still maybe an afters man? Where are you going after this?
Yeah, we've got to go somewhere after this, man. We've just had an incredible night. We've had Bob shelling it down. We've had Nas.
Or could it not be topped and you want to, end on a high? Or do you want it? Or you usually want to keep it going,
do you know
keep the
what?
party
You're
rolling?
actually right. This is what I was like on my wedding. I didn't want the party to end. I told everyone, back to mine for afters. And, there was no afters happening whatsoever.
I love that.
So I think you're right, actually.
you're a
We're going
big
to end
afters
on
man.
a good night. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll just go somewhere for a bit of food and we'll call it a night. Or we'll go to the bagel
Kebab?
shop or something. Yeah, we'll go Brick Lane bagel shop and get salt beef.
Your bagel man.
Yeah, good old East London lad.
Can't go wrong. So I say what's happening. Geez.
Sweet geese.
Anyway, look, thank you so much for coming down, man.
Thank you both, man. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to
But
have you.
you've got some really great stories that I'm excited for everyone to hear.
That's a personal favourite of mine, I reckon.
Yeah, proper. Really glad we got you back at the club to
get it done. Yeah, no, glad we got it done, man. Hopefully the viewers will like it too.
I think they will. If you're watching from a clip on TikTok, or if you've listened to us all the way through, big up yourselves, because this was a good one. We liked it.
Your outro is so good.
I thought it was going all right there. Whatever.
It was finding its way, it was weaving its way to a conclusion.
Okay, so I'm going to put you in the hot seat. Let's
Okay.
get Zefer on the outro.
Well, thank you, Smasher, for coming on to the Steppers Club podcast. If you are new to the label, then myself and Smasher have a tune that is out right about now, which is called Before It Gets Too Late. You can go and stream that on all
out
platforms.
now. Now.
Banger.
And we'll catch you on the next episode very soon.
Big up Smasher.
Nice, big up lads, man.
Let's head
Pleasure.
home.